Frankfurt never really slept. Even at 2 in the morning, the financial district stayed quietly awake, its glass towers reflecting amber light over streets that were nearly empty, yet never truly still. The city felt paused, but not asleep, because something always moved through it. Money, data, and decisions made far from the people they would eventually affect. Far below street level, the data center seemed almost alive in its own mechanical way. Cold air moved through narrow corridors between server racks. Fans spun at steady speeds, and the hum of machines settled into a constant, purposeful rhythm. If you listened long enough, it stopped sounding like noise and began to feel like a pulse. Rows of servers blinked in blue and white, each light part of a system designed for precision and predictability. There was no excess, no disorder, only structure. LedgerNet lived here, unnoticed. There were no announcements, no speculation, no presence in the markets. Meridian Capital called this phase Extended Alpha, but in reality it meant something simpler. The system was hidden. It was being tested, refined, and quietly prepared before it ever touched the world outside. At this stage, LedgerNet was not truly connected to the world. Instead, the world was allowed to connect to it in small, controlled ways, with carefully measured inflows of value and tightly monitored experiments. In Berlin, Ravi Iyer sat in front of a screen that would have seemed unremarkable to most people. A dark terminal window, a few dashboards, and lines of logs moving steadily across the display. It was not built to impress. It was built for those who understood what mattered, and Ravi was one of them. He had been working for hours, though time had lost its meaning. Systems at this scale did not allow you to simply log off. They required attention, even in moments when nothing appeared to be happening. Then he noticed something. It was not an error, just a number, one he had seen before. That was what made it dangerous. For months, Meridian Capital had been feeding controlled value into LedgerNet as part of its testing process. Simulations, staged transfers, and a small group of banks quietly participating in what was still considered an experiment. The amounts had started small, only a few million, and then gradually increased to tens of millions. Each time, the system handled it flawlessly. It absorbed the value, validated every transaction, and settled balances without deviation. LedgerNet was not just holding money, it was proving it could move it better than anything that came before. But there had always been one rule. Nothing could appear from nowhere. Every token in the system had a lineage. It was mapped to real-world capital, signed, recorded, and traceable. Even the test flows followed that rule. Nothing entered the system without a clear and verifiable origin. Except once. Ravi remembered it clearly. Early in the testing phase, a small discrepancy had appeared. Just a few $100,000 that did not reconcile cleanly. It was not large enough to cause panic, but it was enough to disrupt the balance he had carefully designed. He had spent the entire night tracing it, moving through logs and reconciling every step. By morning, an explanation had been given. A reconciliation artifact tied to a funding round, caused by a mismatch between fiat entry and token reflection. It was not perfect, but it was plausible. More importantly, it was small. Small enough that no one questioned it. The banks accepted it. The system moved forward. LedgerNet had bent, but it had not broken. Ravi looked at the number on his screen again, and this time there was no ambiguity. This was different. The scale alone made that clear. The value had already moved past millions and was climbing steadily through tens of millions, increasing in a way that felt controlled rather than chaotic. That was what unsettled him. It did not look like an error. It looked like intent. He pulled up a trace and zoomed into the block, checking every layer of the system. Everything appeared normal. Nodes in Frankfurt, Singapore, and Ashburn all agreed. Consensus was intact, validation was clean, and there was no fork or disagreement anywhere in the network. The system believed what it saw, which meant it accepted it. Ravi moved quickly, opening logs, checking minting records, allocation schedules, and every mapping layer he could access. There was nothing. No minting event, no allocation record, no origin. "This doesn't exist," he said quietly. And yet it did. Worse, it was not sitting idle. The tokens were already moving, flowing through the network in patterns that closely resembled legitimate settlement behavior. They were being distributed carefully, as if they had always belonged there. No alarms were triggered. No safeguards intervened. The system treated them as real. Ravi felt a slow tension settle in. A glitch would not behave like this. It would be messy, inconsistent, easy to detect. This was precise, structured, almost perfect. He ran another verification across all regions: Frankfurt, Singapore, Ashburn. Everything matched. There was no hidden fork, no alternate chain, no sign of divergence. Everything aligned. Everything was correct. Except it was not. He pushed deeper, moving past the usual interfaces into the internal architecture of the system. If something had entered LedgerNet outside its defined rules, it had to have used a privileged or hidden path. That was when he saw it. At first, it did not appear as an error. There were no alerts, no warnings, just a discontinuity in the execution flow, a segment of the validation process that did not fully resolve. A gap, not restricted, not encrypted, simply not there. In the block's validation trace, there was a missing step between proposal and finalization. A transaction should have passed through signature verification, contract resolution, and state checks. But instead, the chain moved cleanly from input to accepted state, as if something had executed in a layer he could not see. The transaction had no verifiable origin, but it had a valid outcome. Ravi leaned closer to the screen, replaying the trace slowly. "This was always here," he murmured. "Not a flaw, a path." He tried to access it directly. The response was immediate. "Access denied." The sound was sharp and final. Ravi did not move. His mind had already gone back to that earlier discrepancy, the few 100,000 that had been explained away. That had not been a mistake. It had been a test, a way to see how the system would respond to value that did not follow its own rules. He looked back at the present block. This was no longer a test. The system had accepted value without origin and written it into consensus state. The number on the screen continued to rise, crossing thresholds that had once been considered absolute. Tens of millions. Still climbing. "How much?" he whispered, "before someone decides this is real?" There was no answer, because once this was spoken outside this room, it would stop being an anomaly and become something else entirely. LedgerNet had just created value from nothing, at a scale no one had approved or prepared for. Ravi opened a secure channel and paused only briefly. There were very few people who would understand what this meant. He typed a single line. "Need you to look at something. Now." He addressed it to Elena Varga and sent it before hesitation could catch up with him. Somewhere far removed from Frankfurt, Berlin, or Zurich, a voice broke the silence. "Has the anomaly exceeded threshold?" "Yes." "And attribution?" "None." There was a pause, then a single word. "Good." Back in Berlin, Ravi watched the number cross another invisible boundary. The system had not failed. It had not been breached. It had simply crossed a limit he had believed was absolute. And whatever existed beyond that limit had now made itself known.